Happy Easter Sunday morning. I hope you've had a good break, good couple of days, and I hope today you've had a chance to think about how wonderful Jesus is. Well, let me try and explain something about today in the words remade or reformed or renewed. Have you ever reformed or renewed something? Let me give you an example where it happened to me just the other day. Can you just imagine a pot? Perhaps you put something in the pot, maybe in the saucepan, baked beans, and you put it on the stove, and then you go away for a while and, well, you think you can just go out and check the post. Well, when you check the post, you meet the neighbour, and after having a chat with the neighbour, you see that there are some weeds in the flowers, and you get down on your knees and an hour goes by. And then you remember the pot. And you go back in, you see the pot is blackened, everything inside is dry, and, well, you turn the stove off and you put it under the tap, but it's ruined. And you start to think, well, maybe I could just throw the pot away. Or I could make it as new. I could get some cleaning fluid, I could get a scourer, and I could rub with all my might, and I could make it shiny and new. Or perhaps you have a story of making something new. Perhaps mum or dad has a story of making something new. Maybe you could pause the video now and talk about making something new. Bring it back to the original and the joy that it gives of your heart when you do that. Well, today is about that day when it was made new. You know, when the women went to visit the tomb, they thought it was just like any other day. In fact, they were filled with sadness. Their friend Jesus had died, and it was just a day like any other day, a day of sadness. And they didn't think anything special was going to happen. They didn't even know what they were going to do when they got to the tomb. For you see, there was a big stone rolled against the tomb. And there was a guard stopping them from even seeing Jesus. Maybe they hoped that they would bring some perfume and some oils and anoint the body of Jesus to show their respect. But they, because of those obstacles, only went to see. You see, it was just like any other day that day. Sad and helpless. But suddenly that day sparkles. Quickly their expectations are swallowed in the impression that that day was no repetition of yesterday. That Sunday morning was a remaking, a reforming, a renewing, a return to the sparkling like my saucepan could only vaguely imagine. Quickly the text removes the immovable objects, the powers, the stone, the guard are taken away, so to speak. And the angel is left there saying, do not be afraid. The powers are humiliated, and the humble ladies who just came to care and to see now are lifted up as they care and see, and they take a message to the other disciples, a message of welcome, a message that they can see Jesus as well. Death has been overthrown. Death was a power to swallow Jesus, but for a little while. Now he is alive. The reset button has been pushed. Do not be afraid. The day sparkles with possibilities. Perhaps you think the day sparkles slowly. True, we still live with sadness and we still live with death. But the renewal, the remaking has begun where it matters most. It has begun with God. Not that God needed remade, making or renewal. But that the day's renewal could not be affected by us. Only God could do it. So what has God done? Well, surprise, God's love has now gone to all the world, Galilee of the Gentiles, and not just in Jerusalem. God's love is gone from the few to the many. Peace. Jesus is alive as judge, and he is alive, and he is now the good judge of all the world. He calls us now to live for justice. But even if some bad things still happen, we can have peace knowing that there will be a day when Jesus will judge and remove all evil. Do not be afraid. Surprise, peace, and imitate. Easter morning, Jesus is alive, and we are told that there is a new day. But if we would want to see that day sparkles, if we would want to see that, then we should look to and imitate Jesus. Jesus lived without favourites. He treated everybody equally. Jesus shared with the hungry. Jesus stood with the lowly. Jesus shares his riches of grace with us who are poor in spirit. So let us imitate him. Then in us, that day, ever freshly sparkles. Now, I have an activity sheet for you to download. You see these sparklers? And perhaps you could look up a passage from Colossians, that is from Colossians chapter 3, verses 12 to 15. You could look that up and then write down some words in here of how we should live, and perhaps colour it in. And maybe your parents could take a photo of it and send it to me in an email, and I can put it up on the website or on the Facebook page. Well, enjoy your Easter Sunday.